Hey everybody, my name is BlakJak and welcome to my review of Sly 2 Band of Thieves. Before I delve into the review, I want to mention the aspects that I feel lead to a good video game. Those being story, gameplay, visual design, audio design, and content. To skip spoilers, go to this timestamp. The game begins with this cool title screen cutscene with 3 silhouette figures running on some rooftops. One of the figures descends from the ceiling and is revealed to be the titular Sly Cooper, the thief. From there, Sly walks around in a circle until you decide to begin the game. Bentley, the brains, gives Sly his first objective, and it's here you realize you're in the Natural History Museum of Cairo. Sly's job is to not only allow Bentley up from the elevator and meeting up with the Murray, the Brawn, but to go and steal the clockwork parts. Upon making it to the clockwork exhibit, Sly sees the parts were stolen. Just real quick, can I just say how cool of an idea for an exhibit that sounds? Anyway, so after that realization, Carmelita and Constable Neyla appear to arrest Sly. However, the two of them clearly don't like each other because instead of just arresting Sly right then and there, they begin bickering over the Claw Gang. This allows Sly to not so subtly escape the doubtful duo. Carmelita decides to actually do her job, and she chases Sly down a large hallway. Sly then makes plans with Bentley and Murray to meet him at the rendezvous point. Sly shatters a thick pane of glass to make his escape, and Carmelita soon follows through her own pane of glass. The chase continues over a few rooftops until Sly and the gang drive away safely. The 3 thieves soon begin to find out about the members of the Claw Gang. Their research brings them to Paris. Their first target is a nightclub owner by the name of Dimitri. He's in the possession of the clockwork tail feathers. Their unique alloy makes the feathers resistant to wear. This allows him to use them to print limitless money beneath his incredibly popular nightclub. Bentley has an elaborate plan to take down the lounge lizard. The setup to the plan includes bombing some pillars to drop a disco ball, destroying the security nodes, and drowning some enemies in the water pump in order to destroy it. This allows the team to shut off the water current to the outer fountain, which allows Sly to swipe the repairman's keys. With the keys in hand, Murray can drive the truck over to the setup location, which allows him to launch a grappling hook up to Sly, who just so happens to be in position on top of the sign. Once attaching the hook, the gang is able to pull down the sign, creating a direct route for Sly to gain access to the printing press. Sly has an altercation with Dimitri. Sly then traps him in a barrel and gathers the tail feathers. Upon escaping, Neyla and Carmelita just so happen to bust the scene. Also, I forgot to mention that Neyla helped Sly to gain access into the disco room. Their next target is in India. Rajan is the head of the illegal spice production for the Claw Gang. He currently is in hold of the clockwork wings. He's also throwing a rather large and extravagant party. While doing some reconnaissance, Sly gets a visual on the other Claw Gang members. Those members are Bison, who is in charge of spice distribution, and the leader of the Claw Gang, Arpeggio. Among the guests of the party are the 3 members of Interpol, Constable Neyla, Inspector Carmelita, and the Contessa. The gang's plan was to have Murray quietly descend behind the statue that has the wings, and then saw them off. While Murray is doing all the heavy lifting, Sly is distracting the crowd with his magical dance moves. Of course, he needs a dance partner, so he tricks Carmelita into dancing with her. She apparently has never really heard Sly's voice before, or been around him long enough to recognize him without his thief getup. That's the only rationalization I can give to her not arresting him, like on the spot. Oh, by the way, Bentley is in charge of getting as many guards to the other side of the property by blowing up a bridge, effectively trapping any guests in the guest rooms. Once Murray has the wings and Sly's dance is over, they begin to make it back to their van. Of course, Murray has to carry the wings back, and he's pretty much defenseless like this, so it's up to Bentley to protect him using his RC helicopter. I don't actually know how Sly made it back, but I just assumed it was a much more direct path to the van than the one that Murray took. Once the 3 of them get out of there, Carmelita starts making arrests left, right, and center, but Rajan escapes into the jungle. Leaving the van behind, the Cooper gang head into the thick jungle. Soon they discovered that Rajan was in hold of the clockwork heart. Using the heart as a pump, he was able to produce illegal spice at a much higher rate than before. After a few attempts to swamp the grotto, Neyla appears. Together, she and Sly bum rush Rajan while avoiding his lightning strikes. However, Neyla betrayed Sly by getting him into position for Rajan to knock him out. Murray takes on one of the toughest challenges yet. Once overcoming this tough fistfight, Murray and Sly get surrounded by Contessa's goons. Neyla appears and she says she captured part of the Cooper gang, and she exposed Carmelita as someone who has been aiding the Cooper gang this whole time. She actually has proof, a photo from the party in the last episode. So, with Carmelita, Sly, and Murray captured, it's up to Bentley to make it back to the van and learn how to drive a stick shift. Sly and Murray were taken to one of the Contessa's prisons in Prague. Bentley's whole goal at the moment is to save his friends, so he spends a few hours planning a way to launch a fucking train into the side of a prison wall. But before he does that, he learns that the Contessa is actually a Claw Gang member. She's using the spice to make her inmates more susceptible to her hypnosis. After all that nonsense, Bentley kills off all the guards, which allows Sly to escape. Together, after doing a few more odd jobs, they were able to relocate Murray into the isolation cell. Then, after stealing a tank, they blow their way through the prison's defenses, and they release Murray from his cell. Unfortunately, Murray was forced to consume a bunch of spice, which changed Murray. He's all twitchy and edgy now. The method they used to release Murray was to play this loud, annoying sound that sends Murray into a blind rage. Once Murray is tricked into destroying those annoying noise machines, he's back to his normal self. Sort of. Soon after releasing Murray, they chase after the Contessa, but she gets away. The gang spends some time together, due to them never being separated for a long period of time before. But after their time together, they go after the Contessa. During the reconnaissance, Sly finds Carmelita, who's being hypnotized by the Clockwerk guys. Luckily for the Cooper gang, Neyla wages a small war with the Contessa. She has tanks, and after a little haunting, some planes that attack the Contessa's castle. During the confusion, Murray steals a tank while Sly and Bentley take control of the blimp the Contessa used to escape the prison. Everything goes according to plan. Carmelita was freed from her shackles, allowing her to chase after her captor, and the duo were able to blow the Clockwerk guys free. Unfortunately, Bentley didn't account for Neyla being ready to steal one half the Clockwerk guy. This is the exact moment this plan goes to shit. Bentley gets into the blimp to escape. Meanwhile, Sly chases Neyla. During the chase, Bentley is shooting down planes left, right, and center. Sly catches up to Neyla, who got caught in a giant web. Sly gets the eye, but gets confronted by the Contessa. Bentley ends up getting shot out of the sky by Carmelita. Contessa plays possum after losing, obtaining the eye. Bentley survives the crash, but he gets kidnapped by Carmelita. She commandeers the tank, but Murray isn't going to allow anyone to be arrested again. So he follows suit and shoots out the tank, saving Bentley and one half of the eye. Sly defeats the Contessa, for good this time. Soon after the gang escapes Prague, they make their way to Canada. Neyla brings in the Contessa, and she receives the rank of captain for her good police work. The gang goes after Captain Canada. Jean Bison. He's in possession of 3 clockwork organs. He's got 2 lungs and the stomach. I didn't know the immortal machine Clockwerk needed to eat, but whatever. Well, I guess we are talking about a game series where a raccoon kills a giant owl in a volcano, and all the parts that made that giant robo-owl are still in pristine condition and functional. So, whatever, man. Anyway, Jean Bison is in charge of illegal spice distribution. He uses trains that run endlessly due to their new old pumps installed. Sly overhears an interesting call between Arpeggio and Bison. It turns out that Arpeggio needs a Northern Lights battery, which Bison just so happens to have, but Sly doesn't care about that for the moment. Instead, the gang does a bunch of small jobs that allow them to gain entry into the trains. Some quick notes though, Murray gets kidnapped by Carmelita, who appears for the duration of the level, and, at the final train, Neyla appears, just for the sole purpose of getting Sly to blow his cover. What I mean by that is Jean Bison happens to be on the last train and threatens to do the same thing to the intruder that he did to a spotted owl. I hope to God he means buy them a nice dinner and treat them right after, but since Jean Bison is a thawed-out 1850s prospector, I highly doubt he's the romantic type. Anyway, after Sly is done making a jackass of himself, Bentley takes the initiative and battles Neyla in the sky. Bentley takes out her weird plane thing, which allows Sly to make it to the end of the train. However, Jean Bison isn't a stupid, Bison. Bull? Whatever. He bolts the stomach in place. The only thing capable of unlatching it, other than a torque wrench, is a bomb. So it's up to Bentley to fly his little helicopter to the end of the train. However, Neyla shows up once again. But Bentley is done dealing with this chick, so he shoots her out of the sky completely, then dives the RC copter into the chimney, which frees the stomach. The gang escapes with all 3 parts, and with an added bonus, Carmelita is forced to evade the police too, with the gang. Must be weird for Murray, considering he was just kidnapped by her.
Yeah, that's weird.
Sly and the gang spend some more time tracking down Jean Bison all the way to a hidden logging mill. It seems Bison also had the clockwork talons. Bison just wants to chop down and fight nature. It's up to the Cooper gang to stop him. In doing so, the gang finds out Arpeggio has asked Bison to charge up a Northern Lights battery. Over time, they learn about the BlakJak games. What makes it interesting is that Bison has the talons up as the prize for winning. So, the gang devised a method to cheat. During the games, Murray chops the wood, Sly climbs a rock and ice wall, and Bentley does the log rolling event. Jean Bison does all the events himself because he's a god at destroying nature. So why wouldn't he be the only one doing these events? Bentley ruins his score by dropping an eagle egg during the log chopping event, and Murray dropped Bison using some conveniently placed grapple hooks. But each time they screw up Bason's run, he just threatens the judges into giving him a perfect score. So, Sly devises a plan to murder the judges and use their body parts to disguise themselves as the judges to screw Bison out of winning. But Jean Bison isn't dumb. He sees right through their gruesome disguises. Then he knocks them right out. Once they come to, Bentley hops down a pipe while Murray gets the door open. Upon reaching the bottom of the pipe, Bentley meets with John Bison. Bison mentions that he sold all the parts that the Cooper gang had collected up until now. Of course, this sparks Bentley into taking out Bison. With the help of Sly taking the controls, Bentley beats Bison using the power of his mind. The gang escapes, and they rush over to the recently depleted Northern Light Battery. Unfortunately, in doing so, the van gets left behind, drifting away in a large piece of ice. On Arpeggio's airship, Sly finds the fully completed Clockwerk built. Sly also finds Neyla, talking to Arpeggio. It's clear now that she was working with Arpeggio this entire time. Confronting them both, Sly learns the true purpose of the Clockwerk parts. Arpeggio, being a flightless parrot, all he ever wanted was to live forever. Clockwerk had the key to immortality the whole time. The key ingredient was hate. So, Arpeggio's plan was to have Rajan produce illegal spice and Bison to distribute it all over, including Prague and most importantly, Paris. In Prague, the Contessa's goal was to create a light frequency that can hypnotize large groups of people at a time. Finally, the airship is to fly over Paris and hypnotize its entire population, all thanks to Dimitri's extremely popular nightclub that was serving food with a copious amount of illegal spice. As mentioned before, the spice induces high levels of rage in those who eat a lot of it. That much hate would keep Arpeggio alive for an eternity. His plan nearly succeeds if it weren't for Neyla, who, shockingly, betrayed him by knocking him over and taking over the Clockwerk body. She eats Arpeggio alive and then dubs herself Clockla. I'm surprised Arpeggio didn't realize much sooner that she would do that, considering she's betrayed everyone she's ever met throughout this entire journey. Sly, Bentley, and Murray have to work together to destroy all the engines, so that they can weaken Clockla enough to damage her. Carmelita shows up in a helicopter, and Sly and her take the battle to the sky. Damaging Clockla enough forces her to crash into the main propellers of the airship, and she kidnaps Bentley and Murray while doing so. Sly then lands on Clockla, and then knocks her out of the air by bashing in her eyes. Everyone crash lands near Paris, and it's up to Bentley to grab the hate chip from in between Clockla's mouth. Unfortunately, the mouth closes, since there's nothing telling it to stay open anymore. This crushes Bentley's legs. Carmelita finally shows up, and since she missed most of the battle, she's the one who destroys the chip. She arrests the Cooper gang, but after seeing all the hell the gang has been through, she just takes Sly in. Murray and Bentley leave broken and defeated, and strand their gear also, as if to say the Cooper gang is over. On the helicopter ride to the precinct, Sly and Carmelita have a long chat. So long, in fact, a short 30-minute flight through town nearly took 2 hours. Carmelita goes to check with the pilot, but it seems the Cooper gang had one last gift to give Carmelita, because the pilot was nowhere to be seen, and the helicopter was jerry-rigged to fly in circles. Sly escapes, leaving Carmelita to say the line that gives a dash of hope for one last adventure with the Cooper gang.
I'll be seeing you soon, Ringtail.
Kevin Miller reprises his role as Sly Cooper. Sly hasn't changed much since his last outing. He's still just as clever and cunning. The writers and acting made Sly really laid back. He's able to joke around more, and for the most part he's pretty calm. I love that he has range though, being mad, confused, or even somber. My only qualms with Sly is that towards later on in the game, he decides that the best time to shout and let it all out is when he's trying to stay completely undetected. These moments make me laugh, but for the wrong reason. Other than those small, insignificant moments, Sly is a great character.
Murray, heads up.
Matt Olson also reprises his role as Bentley. Unlike Sly, Bentley is the most dynamic character. He changed from before the beginning of the game all the way to the end. Bentley has ups and downs, and there are points where you really feel for him. Being the only gang member not to be captured has forced him to being less dependent on the others. Matt Olson has a really good performance. Keeping up the trend is Chris Murphy reprising his role as
The Murray.
Murray is not the same character that he was in Sly 1. He's bombastic, loud, energetic, and a total badass. There's no secrets that I love the Murray. In the entire series, the Murray is my favorite character. He's incredibly quotable. I love the passion the Murray has in this game, and I love how much he changes throughout it. From the time he crash lands through the ceiling up until he loses the van, Murray becomes the most interesting character to watch. What a solid performance by Chris Murphy. Let's go from my favorite hero to my favorite villain in this game. Dimitri is played by David Scully. Remember him? He's the voice of Sir Raleigh the Frog. Dimitri is the most memorable villain in the series. His slightly off personality with his over-exaggerated dialogue makes Dimitri a fan favorite. I love how he was a failed artist turned forger who then, when presented with the opportunity to, prints fake money. He's a fun character who really helps make this a great game. David Scully also plays Rajan. Rajan grew up poor, and he ended up in the illegal spice trade. Eventually, he joined the Claw Gang and became the producer of the illegal spice, which in turn made him filthy stinking fucking rich. Rich enough to hold large elaborate parties. His personality is rigid and stern, unyielding to those he deems beneath him. He even puts up one of the toughest fights in this game. He can actually back up his smack talk. I really like Rajan as a character and as a villain. Gloria Mannon plays the Contessa. This is her only video game credit, but she's mostly known for her TV and film career. The Contessa is downright dastardly. She's not only the warden of a prison, but she's also a secret member of the Claw Gang. She's a master hypnotist who uses her powers to get the locations of all the loot that the criminals had acquired throughout their lifetime. Her purpose in the Claw Gang was to outfit Arpeggio's airship with the hypnotic light system. She's genuinely a terrifying villain, and the performance is wonderfully creepy.
The weak-minded hippo is free, and he's got friends.
Ross Douglas makes a comeback as John Bison. Douglas was the ever-hateful Clockwerk in the last game, and he came back with a vengeance. John Bison is an amazing villain. He may be a defrosted prospector from the 1850s, but boy is he ever a clever man. Bull. Bison. Whatever. He even says it himself.
I ain't like you, boy. I ain't stupid.
He has a need to destroy all the wilderness around him, but his main job in the Claw Gang is to distribute the spice. He must be a terrifying boss to work for, considering he'll put you on disability leave himself. But at the same time, he seems to praise the hard workers that work for him at every turn he can. He's very conflicting in that regard, but nonetheless, I really like John Bison. Sam Mowry plays the villainous leader of the Claw Gang, Arpeggio. Arpeggio is an evil genius. His voice matches the personality. Arpeggio's search for the immortality leads him to start an illegal spice ring. As mentioned before, his plan was to cause so much hate using Dimitri's nightclub and the overconsumption of spice to create enough hatred to sustain his life for all eternity. That really only adds more to Clockwerk's character by giving a context to the amount of hatred he had towards the Cooper clan. Unfortunately for Arpeggio, if you weren't paying attention to all the dialogue, as I wasn't as a kid, you would completely overlook and forget about Arpeggio. He's an interesting character who ends up getting overshadowed and taken out by a better, more involved character. This game marks a trend of changing the voice actress of Carmelita. In this game, she's played by Alessia Glidewell. She's been in a ton of stuff. She's Chell from Portal, Crystal in Star Fox Assault, and Alma Wade from Fears 2 and 3, just to name a few. I like her performance as Carmelita. My issue is I don't quite remember it as much as the other characters in this game. I'm not quite sure why that is. She's written pretty well, showing signs of compassion towards Murray and Bentley, and at the same time, she can be hateful and disrespectful towards the Contessa and Constable Neyla. There's a sense of jealousy towards Neyla as well, which shows pretty abundantly in the party. She's even the one to officially end the reign of Clockwerk by destroying the hate ship at the end. She's an important character in this game, but I don't know why I find the performance not too memorable. But again, I did enjoy it, so there's that. Maybe her performance wasn't as memorable because Neyla stole the fucking show each time she appeared. Alessia Glidewell puts her all in this performance as well, and it leads to one of the most interesting characters in this game. Neyla just can't be trusted. She betrays everyone she's ever come in contact with, including the overshadowed Arpeggio. I love to hate this character. She's like Shepard from Modern Warfare, a character you unwittingly trust until she betrays you, and every subsequent playthrough thereafter you despise with all your might. Neyla is a great character, and her only flaw is that she calls herself Clockla. It's such a dumb name. She should have just taken up the mantle of Clockwerk, kind of like the moniker Robin. You know, like how there's multiple Robins. I feel like that's what it should have been. She should have been Clockwerk.
Behold, Clockla is born!
In this game, unlike its predecessor, you get to take control of each member of the Cooper gang. Sly has the most things he's able to do, considering he's the leader and master thief and all. But each character has abilities that make them feel different despite using the same control scheme. For instance, while Sly and Murray can uppercut them with the hit of the attack button do an instant kill, Bentley just drops bombs. But he can shoot guards with the Binocucom, putting them to sleep, and then with the drop of a bomb, he can instant kill the guards. To Sly's complete delight, apparently.
He's out. Drop a bomb on him while he's down to keep him that way.
Sly and Bentley are capable of hiding under tables to avoid enemies due to their size, while on the other hand, Murray is more of a brawler who can take out enemies in 2 hits, not needing to be as stealthy. Sly still knows all his ancestors' abilities, allowing him to use his rail run, ninja spire jump, and he even comes equipped with the knockdown dive from the air. Murray has his tried and true thunder flop.
Greetings, citizen. I I hope you weren't harmed by my meteoropic entrance.
Sai even learns a few new tricks, like wall hook launching and ice wall climbing. Facing off with enemies will allow you to gather health pickups. Why is that important? Well, it's because there's a health bar in this game, unlike the one-hit kill system from the last game. Along with the health bar, you get a gadget bar, or as I like to call it, the stamina bar. As you progress through the game, you'll be earning and collecting coins. Coins allow you to purchase gadgets. Those gadgets can range from one-hit kill attacks to abilities that affect your mobility. Using these gadgets, use up your stamina gauge, but picking up health pickups also restores your stamina bar. Among running around the levels as the three main characters, there are a handful of different types of playstyles. For starters, let's talk about Bentley's RC helicopter. The first few times you play as a helicopter, you're not fully in control of the movement. That's because the helicopter is constantly moving forward, while moving the analog stick allows you to make tight turns. It's useful for dodging missiles. The other playstyle of the helicopter is in the more traditional bullet hell style of gameplay. That means you're in control of the direction of the helicopter, allowing you to dodge attacks a little better. In both styles of the helicopter gameplay, you're able to drop bombs, and in the bullet hell style gameplay, you're able to shoot bullets forward. Murray gets to play around with an RC toy too. He gets a tank. You can drive around and reverse with the tank, as well as shoot from its cannon. But you can only aim while not moving, and you can only shoot after picking up ammo. It sounds a tad complicated, but it's really fun and a good challenge. I only wish there was more of these missions, or even like a multiplayer mode with it, instead of just the one mission. To make up for that tiny tank, Murray gets a big boy tank. It has tank controls. Who would have thought? One stick controls one tread, while the other stick controls the other tread. And you can shoot with the cannon. These missions are rather challenging, but if you use one tread to make turns, it makes it a little easier. All three characters use turrets in some missions. However, Bentley and Sly are the only ones capable of zooming in. They're rather simple missions, just your standard shoot and survive type of missions. Each level is built meticulously with Sly's mobility in mind. Sly can climb, run on rooftops, slide on vines, and paraglide off large structures. It's a lot of fun to run around and dodge and fight enemies with Sly. However, it seems like the level design had to find creative ways to get Bentley and Murray around. Usually the solution is just a number of jump pads laid around the map, but with the mobility gadgets it gets a little easier. Murray has a high jump, and Bentley gets a hover pack to help him getting around much easier. This is because the game's missions take place over the hub levels. Missions take center stage here, unlike the individual levels from the first game. Missions in this game are really fun. There's a lot of variety in them too. I think the real enjoyment comes from the actual level design though. It's like a giant jungle gym where you'll be blowing up structures or shooting out helicopters or stealing keys from guards or just being swarmed by endless amounts of enemies. Throughout the worlds, you can collect loot. Only Sly is capable of pickpocketing coins and by extension loot out of the guards' back pockets. Loot are valuables that have a variety of prices depending on the items that you swipe. You can even find treasures laying around levels. Some of them have time limits because they're booby-trapped, but all the treasures will break in one hit anyway. That's okay though, they respawn pretty quickly, and you can sell the loot and treasures and get more coins. Much like Sly Cooper and the Thieves Raccoonets, there are 30 bottles in each level, 240 in total. Once collecting all the bottles, you'll have to find a safe. The safe will open with a code that Bentley will decipher using his IQ of 140.
You need an IQ of at least 140 to figure this one out.
Each safe has an extra gadget that Sly can use. Some of these abilities are actually from the last game, like the slow motion move or the invisible move. At the end of some levels, you'll be facing off with the members of the Claw Gang. Dimitri is the first boss, and he's actually pretty simple. You can wait behind green barrels while Dimitri launches ring blasts until it overheats. Then you can run up on him and wail on him while dodging his attacks. It's simple, but if you even mistime one ring blast or accidentally get hit, you'll be taking quite a bit of damage. Or you can play it like I did and bum rush him. This causes him to have one chance to shoot you, forcing him to start his close quarters attacks while he runs away and starts his cycle all over again. It's simple and quick fight, but it's really fun. Being the second boss, you would be expecting a slightly easier fight. However, Rajan takes that sentiment and shoots it with lightning. He's the hardest boss in this game. First things first, you fight Rajan as the Murray. All you do is jump over his first swipe while holding a direction to avoid his second attack. Then you can attack him. If he raises his arms, stand on a lily pad to avoid his lightning. He sends small guards to attack you too. Since Murray can kill them in 2 hits, or 1 hit with the lightning fence or his Fist of Flames ability, this enables you to continue gathering health. Now on paper, he's not that complicated of a fight, but the challenge for me comes from draining Rajan's health. Murray can kill most if not every enemy in 2 hits. This makes Murray's punches feel heavy and strong, but when you hit Rajan, his health only goes down like a pixel at a time. Meanwhile, if he hits you, he takes a quarter of your health. It's an uphill battle that always feels satisfying when you defeat him. I know you can throw the guards at Rajan, enabling you to pick him up and throw him in the lightning fence to do more damage, but that's just not as fun for me. I like the feeling of overcoming a tough challenge when you fight Rajan in a more upfront manner. The Contessa, on the other hand, is the easiest boss in my opinion. She charges at Sly with a couple of swipes, which can be dodged by walking around her. She can even lay eggs and send small spiders after you, which ironically is harder to dodge than the Contessa herself. And in her second phase, she can also use hypnosis to force Sly into walking around aimlessly. Neyla to me is the most unique boss. She's fought with the bullet hell controls for the helicopter, meaning she's going to send a barrage of bullets your way while you shoot many bullets her way. She even throws green snot orbs at you, and she can send planes after you. In her second phase, she's more relentless, and she even goes beneath you, allowing you to drop bombs on her, while she launches missiles up and they explode in 8 directions. She's pretty fun, but she can be really challenging. Bison is a cool boss. It's a battle between brains and a small turtle with a friend ready to drop logs on the big bison. This boss makes you keep your distance while setting off traps to injure Bison. He can throw dynamites, send guards at you, and even charge at you. I never used my bombs on him before to see if that does any damage, but I'm not actually sure if it does. He can be a quick fight if you circle around him and just set off the fire repeatedly. I do love this fight though, it's really fun. The final boss is a turret fight. As long as you shoot out all the missiles and keep up attacking the giant metal bird, you'll be fine. Also, if you see the giant bird's eyes glow, you need to focus on shooting her in the face, or else she'll launch a powerful I-beam at you. One more note, the rings only need to be shot once to flip them. If you shoot it more than once, it will flip back, hurting you. And the second phase consists of wailing on the giant bird's face, so it's not too much to talk about other than that. I like all the designs of the characters. The colors are a little more muted than the last game, but I think it works rather well for this game. Sai looks similar to how he looked in the first game. He's still wearing a blue shirt and hat with the signature cane. He's still wearing his mask and ledge pouch, which he keeps all his calling cards in. Bentley's changed. I love that he's wearing a bulletproof vest and a safari hat, not to mention his weapon of choice being a crossbow that can shoot sleeping darts. I think the darts themselves look more like snot balls to me, but I don't mind it at all. I actually think it was done on purpose though. There's a color scheme going on. Green is sleep, red is damaging, purple is confusion. So it makes sense to me why the darts are just pure green, but it just makes me think that Bentley's shooting boogers at people. I feel like the Murray had the best redesign since the last game. He now has a luchador mask and some sweet ass red gloves. He's giving me a professional wrestler vibe, which suits his over-exaggerated bombastic personality now that I think about it. Carmelita hasn't really changed much since last game, but she now has a few different costumes. Her standard costume looks the same as the one in Sly 1. She wears a dress during the party, and a really nice touch of detail is in the snow level she appears in, she's wearing a little winter hat with a fur coat, and she's wearing a warm-looking shirt. I like that Sucker Punch's character designers opted to keep Sly and Carmelita relatively the same as the older game's design. Neyla has a very unique design too. I like how her clothes contrast with the traditional headdress with the white, almost clear shawl. I don't actually know what that's called. My point is that even her design brings to light her true personality. Each member of the Claw Gang is unique from one another. Each member varies in size from one another, and I can't tell if Rajan is taller or if Bison is taller, but that brings up my next point. The perspective of these characters keeps shifting as the game goes on. For instance, Clockwerk's frame can be climbed on and run over, but in the final boss it's much, much larger. I think it's a wonderful use of size to create tension and a sense of satisfaction after you beat some of them. The animations during the cutscenes are a little wonky, however. There's this weird mouth movements throughout the game. Also, some really stiff, jittery movements coupled with some really funny line delivery.
What? Cooper!
I got a kick out of it, but these issues don't really bother me, since they're so far in between. However, the 2D cutscenes are brilliant. I love the art style of these, and the animation's minimal but well done. During gameplay, the animations are smooth. You really feel the impact from the Murray as he lays waste to the guards, and how they fly when Bentley blows them up. I like how each of the Claw members have their own guards too. Each guard has their own animations for the same things, like how each guard sleeps a little differently, or how they each shoot at you. It helps make the world feel a little lived in. Speaking of the world, I love the level design in this game. Each world is vibrant in color. I like the aesthetic of each of the levels, and as a child I was actually afraid of the Contessa's levels. I just feel like I was a little bitched though. It's still really good design. My only issues are levels 3 and 8. I find level 3 to be a little too vertical for me, with not enough methods to get to the higher points of the levels. There's only about 3 different ways to actually get all the bottles or to reach each mission. This could have been fixed by just adding some more jump pads. Level 8 is actually just really confusing to maneuver around. If you're going after the missions, it might not seem too bad, but searching for the bottles was a much more confusing endeavor. The level itself is symmetrical, but that led to me being lost or thinking I haven't been in this location when in fact I've been there multiple times. Also, Bentley and Murray have to find roundabout ways to reach the same places that Sly can get to by just climbing. I feel like just making Murray and Bentley able to climb ladders would have just fixed this problem of confusion for me. If that isn't possible, then just another 1 or 2 jump pads could fix this issue too. Taking a step back for a moment, I love the audio design in this game. The game is still cartoony like the first one. So too are the sounds. This game comes packed with a lot of pows and bams and whooshes and other onomatopoeia noises. It gives it a real cartoon feel. Each guard makes distinctive sounds too, and everything fits perfectly. Even Peter McConnell's music is perfect. Each level has a standard version of a song, and then it can morph depending on the situation you're in. If you get into a combat, the music shifts to be more energetic. Every interior area within the levels has its own song too. Music of this game does a good job representing the area of the world it's in. I'm not sure if he used instruments from the areas for his music, but it does have a nice feel to it. Of course I can't talk about the music without bringing up Dimitri's nightclub music. Yeah, I'd go to this nightclub. The music in this game soars leagues ahead of the music from Sly 1. Some of these tracks just stay with you, unlike the ones from the first one. This game doesn't have much in terms of content, but the content that it does offer is really good. There are 240 bottles, 30 per level. Collect all the bottles on level and you get yourself a nifty gadget. There are 8 additional gadgets in this game. Of course, not including all the gadgets you'll be buying using the coins that you find throughout the game. This game also comes packed with some commercials and a promotional video that can be unlocked simply by beating the game. I think the reason I like this content so much is because of how much fun and how simple it is to gather. Real quick, before I get ready to finish off this video, I didn't show off some of my deaths during this playthrough, so I just wanted to show them off real quick.
What? My keys!
Sly 2 Band of Thieves is a really great game. I do have some issues with it though. A lot of them are minor flaws, but some of them not so much. For starters, the game holds your hand all the way through. It constantly keeps reminding the player how to do the same basic action over and over and over and over again. Even if the action is slightly different, the basic concept is the same. For a new move, jump in at the circle button. Basic action for a mission, press the action button. It isn't that complicated. But even near the end of the game, it keeps telling you how to do things. I guess it wouldn't be too bad if you could just skip through the cutscenes, but the game doesn't allow for that. Come to think of it, I don't believe the first game did that either. Apart from the hand-holding, this game's variety can offer a bit of a challenge to the player. Some of the turret missions can be overwhelming for newcomers. I mean, they're doable and they shouldn't take too long to get used to, but they are challenging and overall they're really fun. Sly 2's level design has a really good sense of unity in between the levels. Each one feels different from one another. But if you're still in the same part of the world as the last level, there are some similarities to connect the two. The content is easily achievable and doesn't take too much time to gather either. There's no wonder why I keep coming back to this game time and time again. The price nowadays is okay. If you never played this game, I'd pick it up. The price seems to be about $30-ish for a good copy on Amazon. So I'm going to give Sly 2 Band of Thieves a 9.5 out of 10. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.